So we've learnt about the different states of matter, and now we're going to look at how you can change the state of matter of a material. And the most important thing to remember when we're changing a state of matter is that it uses heat. So if we're looking at water in this example, we have ice, which is the solid state of water. Then we have liquid water, which is the liquid state. And then we have steam, which is in the bubbles here of this boiling water on the stove. It's the invisible gas. So if we want to change water's state, we're going to need to add heat or take heat away. So the big thing to remember is we change a state of matter by adding heat or removing it. In other words, you heat something up or you cool it down. So let's look at what we call each of these different changes. So if we start with ice as a solid, we've all done this before. If you leave ice out in the sun or just leave it out of the freezer, that means it's getting warmer and warmer and warmer, and it starts to melt. So melting, that is the name of the process from solid to a liquid. If you leave that water out in the sun again, or if you start to boil it, then that liquid water, it turns into a gas, and we call that evaporating. So going from a liquid to a gas is called evaporating. What if we want to go the other way though? If we start with steam and it cools down, then we go back to liquid water. And this happens in the bathroom when you have a shower, where we have hot steam in the air, and if it touches the mirror is really cold and it cools the steam down and it turns it back to liquid water. And that is called condensing. It makes condensation, so it's called condensing. The last one we'd all know, if you put liquid water into the freezer and cool it down, that's called freezing. So freezing is going from a liquid to a solid. Here's a common misconception that people have, and I think it's really important to talk about, that the clouds that we see when we heat up water, a lot of people call that steam, but that's not actually steam. It's called water vapor. And water vapor, that's liquid water in tiny little droplets. So the big thing to remember there is water vapor is not steam. They're completely different. So remember that steam is the real gas. And you can't see steam at all, it's invisible. That's why when you boil water, the little bubbles, they look like they have nothing in them. So lastly, there's two more processes that scientists have discovered, and that's the process of going from a solid all the way to a gas in one step. And some chemicals do this. Water doesn't, but some chemicals like dry ice, they do this. And dry ice is carbon dioxide. So some chemicals, when you have a solid and you heat them up, they skip the liquid step and they go straight to a gas, and that is called sublimation. So that's why we call dry ice dry, because if you take it out of a freezer, it never becomes liquid carbon dioxide. It just becomes gas and floats away. And the opposite of sublimation, if you go from a gas straight to a solid, that's called deposition. So those are the 6 different ways that you can change the state of matter.